left field. Big fly for Mike Trout. 1-0 Halos. Ground ball to second base. Rengifo falls down, picks it up, fires the first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle Mariners. That is drilled out to left field. The Angels are going to have a 1-0 lead. Anthony Rendell with a big fly, his third.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Curry.
This is Joe Adele here with the Los Angeles Angels.
Brandon Marsh.
This is Chris Rodriguez.
And you're listening to the All Angels Podcast.
And welcome to another edition of the All Angels Podcast. Back in Halo Haven with, of course,
the curator
or the bleeder that happened this weekend. We can talk about that one later. But
okay.
Everything's
Nice
all
intro.
good now. Everyone's healthy, which is not exactly what the Angels are right now, but still had a great 2-game series up in Oakland. And that is something that has been too common for the Angels this season, whether it's Oakland, whether it's Houston, whether it's Seattle.
So it's basically the AL West minus Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
AL West minus Texas. You know, the teams that are like in the playoff run that you
Like
should have to
over 500 teams.
Yeah, over 500 teams. And I said this before to some, I think I said on the podcast or even probably on social media, the Angels right now are definitely the best worst team. Like you put them up against.
Is there a price for that? Do we get a trophy for being the best? Worst
you know
team?
what you get? You get a
pat on the back,
a decade long of like low teens, mid-teens draft picks where it's like, we can see how this one pans out or see how that goes. Angels did get 9th overall pick this year,
shucks.
but they're aiming for that like a 13th pick next year. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Angels again back up in Oakland Monday for a quick 2-game series before they go to Minnesota. So let's talk about those Monday games real quick. Obviously, they didn't finish the series like they wanted to against Seattle at Angel Stadium, dropping 2 out of the 3. So you have to, at this point, think we need to beat Oakland these 2 games, or at the worst case scenario, split. But that didn't happen. But it's not because of Ohtani. Ohtani took the mound on Monday up in Oakland. And again, he hit as well, which is always kind of a question, especially now towards the later of the year. Like, do you keep him healthy? Do you kind of limit that a little bit to try to, because this team is going it seems like as far as he's going to take them. Do you try to save him a little bit now to have him back or have him healthier at the back end or no?
I don't know. I think where this team is right now, you got to kind of go for broke and you're just like, we're all in on Ohtani because that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to discount like your Walshes and Fletchers and stuff like that, but it really is. It's Ohtani or bust right now.
So yeah,
especially with Trout being delayed,
right?
Rendon, who knows? So yeah, I mean, it's him or nothing. So throw him in center or whatever you got to do.
Right
and
field,
we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So yeah, Ohtani takes him out and has a really good game, probably one of his best games this season, where he goes 6 innings, 3 hits, only 1 walk, which is always kind of the key stat for him.
Yeah.
8 Ks, 96 pitches. So definitely got
high quick.
Yeah, got a little workout again. His whole thing is when he's not walking guys, it's not being able to put guys away right away, as far as like
going deep counts,
full counts, 2-2 counts, maybe having a guy 0-2 and letting him work back into a full count, stuff that people do or pitchers do to limit their pitch counts. They get out of those innings quick. But either way you look at it, a really, really good outing. Goes 6 innings, almost 100 pitches, and it would be 0-0 all the way to the bottom of the 7th. Like I said, Ohtani gets taken out. He gets put in right field because his bat is due up 4th. In a 0-0 game, you figured, and kind of like what you were saying, you're going as far as he's going to take you. So you have to keep that bat in the lineup. You have to have him come through again just on the off case that he's up to bat with a guy on second or something like that. So he goes to right field. Steve Cishek comes in, and of course he would walk the first 2 batters, and then give up a home run to Liriano. Makes it 3-0 just like that.
Yeah, Liriano's an Angels killer, man. Before Liriano, we had Crush Davis. Always came through against
Angels. With the Oakland. Yep.
Oakland, you have your Chapmans, your Olsons, always killing the Angels. But yeah, Liriano last few years has really hurt us. So you just knew it was going to get to that right off the bat. You're like, once Ohtani was pulled, you're like, okay,
Here we go. You're holding your breath.
Here
that's
we
for
go.
sure.
Yeah, we can't go that deep into a game 0-0 and bring in the bullpen.
Yeah,
no padding at all, straight up. So it's like you almost, starting the game with the bullpen, and it escalated quickly.
It did very quickly. and something that's been a problem with the bullpen and is inherited runners. Like, obviously, you look at an inherited runner stat, these bullpen guys are giving up inherited runners, which, people want to talk about, well, what about this guy's ERA and this and like that? It's like, well, those inherited runners don't go on their ERA if they score.
Yeah.
But yet the Angels bullpen is one of the worst when it comes to that stat. And Cishek coming in with this, you would think, all right, clean inning, nothing to worry about. There's no one on. Walks in first two guys, which is, anyone that's ever played baseball or watched baseball is like a big no. Don't walk the leadoff guy, and don't
trust your defense.
Right, put it in play like as with Merrifield.
But just don't throw that pitch you did to
Lariano, yeah. The defense has gone better. You would have to, you have, like you said, you have to trust that.
You got to hit your spots.
If a ball goes to Ohtani and right, guess what? He's athletic enough to make. I mean, he can't be worse than some of the guys they put out there already.
Oh yeah.
So you got to trust who's out there, definitely. So Matt Olson would add a solo home run, another Angel killer, in the 8th inning, and that's what they would end up having is 4 runs. Angels would lose 4-1 in Oakland. I guess one of the bright spots of this game, obviously, was the very first professional hit of Angels' #1 prospect, Brandon Marsh.
There it is. Brandon Marsh's first major league base hit.
Oh, look at that in the dugout. What a great feeling that is for Brandon, knowing what he's been through.
That caveman hair all over the place. He's going to lose. I know when Fabian Ardaya was covering the Angels, he would have a Shohei Ohtani counter for every time he swung in the hat, and the helmet fell off. I got a feeling every single time Brandon runs the bases, we're gonna need a helmet counter for how many times that thing comes off, because I can't see that thing staying.
Possible giveaway.
Yeah, right. Just the helmet though. Oh, just a helmet
with faux hair,
and
a counter.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's giveaway.
There you go. Boom. Chris in charge of promotions.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Exactly. So that was his first hit of the game. That was his first at bat of the game. So gets it out of the way. And as people have seen it, whether it's like a certain milestone, whether it's like a certain home run, whether it's a certain hit, if you don't get it right away, it seems to kind of linger and can be an issue as far as like trying too hard to get that, whatever it is, milestone. So
rally monkey on your back.
Yeah, you can say that, so to speak. Exactly. So for him to get it done in the second game of his career,
the previous game which you were at, and I'm sure you already covered. What do you go over?
He went over 4 with the strikeout.
Yeah, over 4, and guess what? It's your first game. Who cares?
Right.
You don't have those guys that hit the home run their first at bat, first pitch.
Right. It's a great story, but how often does that happen?
Yeah, and then do they maintain a long career?
Right.
May or may not. Right. So, but to get that off, I'm sure he's a very just like it doesn't seem like he was too worried about it.
No,
he's a very chill dude. He knew it was going to come, and the Angels knew it was going to come, and he was just happy to get his feet wet on that Sunday game.
Yeah, but saying that Sunday game,
like he was just happy to be there,
right? And that Sunday game too, like if you watch like the pregame and you look at all that stuff, like talking to his mom on Sunday, like they found out she did 12 noon on Saturday, so I'm guessing Brandon probably found out not too much before that. So now you're thinking, okay, where do I go? I got to get a plane ticket, or here's my plane ticket. I got to, pack. I got to do this. I got to do that. Okay, I fly into Anaheim. Okay, now I'm kind of psyched up probably the night before. Maybe didn't sleep well.
Who's going to take care of my dog?
Right. Yeah, exactly. All that stuff. Whoever his AAA roommate is, I guess. Yeah. But then you get to the stadium, and then you saw the media, and then just like him doing like little interviews with Bally's and stuff like that. So
and then you got to play.
Exactly. And who knows what kind of mindset he was in, and even talking to him after the game, he was just so focused on everything. Like, and he even said it to us. He was like, "Yeah, it's now sinking in."
Yeah,
like
there are a few days in your life that are just definitely like that, where it's just like such a blur. And I'm sure you'll agree. That. It's like your wedding day.
Yeah,
and I don't know what else.
I mean, if I was a major league player,
major league debut.
Yeah, if I ever
I don't do that. Very few of us will get to
do that. But no,
understand
yeah,
that.
and it's funny.
But I think that's what it was. It was just
total
interview, and then he was up there swinging.
I gotta warm up and get ready to go.
Yeah, so he settled in this game, and it was cool to see him out there.
Yeah, and even like I can't remember if it was his agent or one of a family friend. We were talking. He's like, oh, as soon as they get into Oakland, because this is Sunday. He's like, oh yeah, as soon as they land up in Oakland, because they were leaving right after the game. As soon as he gets up there, he's gonna pass out, and he's gonna be, because he's so, how are you not worn out by all that excitement, and then
higher.
Yeah, and then too, just to see, and Gooby kind of alluded to it a little bit in that clip as far as his backstory and what he's gone through the last 6 months, losing his dad, and at the end of spring training, beginning of like minor league spring training, and then a month later losing a really close friend, one of his best friends, all that within a month. And he, like I said, when we talked to him, when his mom and his sister were there, that's when he hit him, like all this work, and those people couldn't be there to see him, and it hit him like it felt weird, but it felt oddly like special in a way, to like you could see these three individuals, Brandon's mom, Brandon's sister, and Brandon himself, like kind of all break down and have this moment together as we're kind of just standing back and watching it. And it just, one of his buddies is like, oh, all right, no one lose it. And like, cause we were there, and everyone there close to him knew the story, knew what had happened and all that stuff. So it was definitely a really special moment to see them Sunday after the game. And I was just fortunate to talk to him, or lucky for us, we've had, Sonia Marsh, Brandon's mom, on the podcast. We had her on a couple of years ago for Mother's Day. I've talked to Aaron a number of times on social media, stuff like that, and they were super generous with me as far as like, oh yeah, here, come sit with us, kind of deal during the game. And then obviously when we went down to the ballpark, or down to the field at the end of the game. And you've been to Angel Stadium, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching or listening have been to the stadium. But
I have been to Angel Stadium, so I can confirm that.
There you go.
Okay,
so that little area and next to the field where it's like those fancy seats, and it's like a little. You have your regular seats, and then it kind of cuts out a little bit, like
square.
They're
like padded.
Yeah. So
like
that's
bigger.
where. Yeah. So yeah, more
like
elbow space.
Boy.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where we were, and that's where they kind of cut the people out, so no one can go in there. So obviously it was just family and friends in there. So I got to go in there and take a photo with him. And again,
wow, big time.
Yeah, it's good to know the family, I guess. I don't know. But the funny part too is like, again, they're having this moment. I'm like, all right, I got my photo with Brandon. I'm gonna bounce because I don't.
Thanks for the invite, by the way,
dude. Like, so I get a text from a buddy who knows that I'm cool with Brandon, and says, hey, is all this Twitter rumors and all that stuff true about Brandon being called up? And and I was like, I don't know. Like literally that woke me up. So I was like, well, let me find out. So I ended up texting some people. I didn't get an answer back right away. I ended up texting a guy I know in Salt Lake on the Bees. And he's like, yeah, he got called up yesterday. So I'm like, oh crap. And this is at, I don't know, like 11 o'clock. No, like 10:30. So I literally get up, get changed, tell my wife I'm leaving to the ballpark, and I bounce. And I bought I went to go put gas in the car. And while I'm putting gas in the car, bought the cheapest ticket I could find and just to get to the ballpark and stuff like that. So it literally all happened in like a 45-minute span, to where like I found out, got dressed, got changed, got all that stuff, and ran out the door. But yeah, definitely something I will remember for a long time. Just, who else can say they were there and got to see him and stuff like that. And, there's a photo out there roaming around. I got to try to get a copy of it, with me and the group that went to go see him with Brandon after the game, because his buddy wanted a photo with everyone that came to watch. And I was trying to bounce. Like, I got my photo. Like, he's like, no, stay. I want a photo. I was like, all right, cool. So we got one of those floating around. Hopefully I get it pretty soon and stuff like that. I can throw it up there. But Brandon wasn't done that game on Monday. No, he got his second hit in the 7th inning. And then when he came up again in the 9th inning, he was responsible for the only RBI of the game.
2-1 pitch. A shot up the line, a 3-hit night for Brandon Marsh. Goslin wheeling around to score, and the Angels are on the board with 1 out in the 9th.
So not only does he get his first hit, not only does he get his first multi-hit game, gets his first double, first extra base hit, with his first RBI all in one game. So a pretty good game, I would say, for Brandon Marsh. But like I said, that was the only RBI the Angels were able to get across the board. Angels lose 4-1 up in Oakland. And totally wasted an opportunity to take a game from them with a great outing by Shohei Ohtani on the mound. And it's just that was frustrating.
Yeah, it was wasted.
And then I don't know if you saw the post game comments from Shohei,
where he took credit.
Or he took blame.
The blame. For
loss. Like I gotta do more. It's like, what else could you besides pitch?
Should have hit a 5-run homer.
I'm about to say besides pitching like 9 innings and hitting like 4 jacks. Like what else could you have done?
I think it's cultural.
Oh, definitely, dude. It's something that you don't see here every day,
and people just don't have that. So
yeah, it was definitely interesting to see how he took that. But obviously, they had to play Tuesday. Tuesday was an afternoon game. Jose Suarez took the mound, another young guy that we've talked about before, and hopefully his maturing as a starting pitcher can be a good sign for this team going to the future. And that's exactly what happened in this game when he retired the first 11 batters of the game that afternoon. The first hit he would give up was to Matt Olson in the 4th inning, of course, and that made it a 1-0 game solo shot. In the 6th inning, Jose would be in a little bit of trouble when he left 2 guys on base. He looked at the first 2 guys on base. One was a hit. I believe one was a hit batsman. Then they end up their sacrifice bunt, intentionally walk Matt Olson. So now you're looking at bases loaded, 1 out. Gives up a sac fly. So now the score's 2-0. And that made it 2 outs, men at the corners, and he gets pulled, which was very confusing to me because at this point 2-0 you think it's still doable. It's still you're still able to come back from that. But they pull Jose after 5 2/3 with only 73 pitches. It wasn't like Ohtani, because Ohtani went 6 innings and threw like 96 pitches. He's 1 out away from that, and he's about like 20 pitches less. Efficient. And I guess I don't know if Madden thought it was 3rd time through the lineup kind of stuff, but I mean, you kind of have to let him try to get out of that and make it a kind of a teaching point, you would think.
I mean, I guess if you already know, like, I don't want to say you're conceding the loss, right? You already know that you're probably not going to pull this one off. So just let the guy,
Well, not only that, though, it's like if you have a bullpen that's been lights out, cool.
Yeah.
But you have the bullpen you'd have, and maybe Jose gives up a hit. Yeah, Jose maybe gives up, a double, whatever. But you can say that about anybody in that bullpen, and it'd be pretty close to being true.
And I think the only reason why you would take somebody out with mid-70s pitches is that they're coming off an injury, they're hurting,
right?
Whatever it may be. But this guy's young.
Yeah,
super
exactly.
young.
And like I mentioned, 73 pitches, so it's not like he's at the 95.
High school kids that could throw, at least put out 100 if you allow them to. So I don't think it's like a matter of that. And the game was in a total blowout at that point.
You have to let these young pitchers, especially
work through their troubles, and that's the only way that they're going to progress and develop or whatever it's going to be. If you look at all the greats, it's not like they didn't have adversity at some point.
Oh yeah,
and if they never get out of adversity or get the point, like you're trying to kid glove them the whole time,
it's not going to help.
It's never going to help.
Right,
and then you're going to lose the game anyway. So
it's all for nothing.
For what?
Yeah,
let him grow.
I felt so bad for Jose, and even too is to a point where, okay, those first 2 runs, you can give it to him definitely, the solo shot and then the sac fly. But then, like I mentioned, he gets taken out. I forgot who came in. Who we see? Oh, Myers came in after Suarez, gives us a double. So now look at it, it's 4-0 anyway. So the worst case scenario was pretty much what happened. And what sucks for Suarez is that those last 2 runs where he could have very easily gotten out of it with, again, 2 outs. You're not trying to get double play. You're not trying to do any of that. Simple pop fly to center field or simple grounder to wherever is going to get you out of that inning. But now those last 2 runs, and we're talking about before the podcast, like that kind of sucks because now you look at his line, it's 5 2/3, 3 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks. And it's like, truthfully, it seems like only 2 of those should really be attributed to him, but it's just the way that pitching goes. And then if you look at Myers' line, it's a third of an inning, 1 hit, no runs, a strikeout.
Baller.
Yeah. Lord is ERA.
Oh god.
But not to mention the 2 that he just gave up. Again, inherited runners have been a huge issue with the bullpen. And again, starting pitching has not been bad. They put up a graphic or they talked about it during the broadcast, where starters ERA in the month of July is like sub 3, but yet the bullpen guys are like above 8. You know what I mean? So it's like you can have all the great outings you want, and I guess that's the frustrating part too with this, is that you had 2 legit outings by your starters in this series that made the games very winnable, but because of the bullpen and obviously too the lack of offense, but
yeah, so bullpen comes in, shuts them down, but you got to put out some runs, man.
But you look at it,
depend on a Brandon Marsh for a 1 RBI. But lose.
It's different though. Those games happen where the offense doesn't come, especially when your offense, I think it's overperforming what people thought. Like you look at a lot of the key stats, the Angels offense is like in top 5 in a lot of those stats, 7th in some of them. So it's not like they're a bad offense. It's like, no, it's a good offense, and good offense have bad days. Like that just happens. But you can't say bullpen's having a bad day. It's like, no, they're bad. Look at their stats for the whole year. They're bad. Where the offense, you can be like, well, this is a bad day because you look at their stats.
Yeah, you're also missing arguably like the two of the top 10 players in baseball.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you can make a case for Dunn's in the top 10 players in baseball right now. So to have that absence and still compete and have a relatively high offense, I mean, that's Ohtani and Walsh contributing.
Yeah, so they would end up losing the game 6-0. But like I said, unfortunately, Suarez's line is not great, and they get swept by Oakland up in Oakland. Johnny Be Good on our YouTube says, don't know why Heaney, Gara, and Myers are still on the team and why they haven't traded for a starting pitcher already. That's really all we need. Bring up Detmers, Rodriguez, and why not Bachman? Bachman being the new free draftee who literally just signed today. That's why he's not getting brought up. He literally signed today, and he's on his way to Arizona.
But he signed today.
He signed today. He could be ready right now.
No, he should. He just got paid $3.9 million.
Oh yeah,
we got him for a deal.
Below slot.
Below slot.
Again, Heaney is up and down. Gara and Myers, I understand they've been struggling, but we had Red Bollinger on last week or last podcast on Sunday, and one of the reasons why they don't get rid of some of these guys is that honestly, they don't have anyone else get brought up.
Better option.
You don't have a better option. Yeah, you can bring in Chris Rodriguez. Yeah, you can bring up Detmers, but are they going to be better? Just because they've been killing it in AA doesn't mean that translates to Major League Baseball. I mean, in AA, you can have 2 good pitches and be fine. In Major League Baseball, if you're going to be a starter, maybe not so much a reliever, but a starter, you need 3, maybe 4 legit pitches to be a starter in the major leagues. Now, bullpen wise, we'll see what happens. Chris came up, he did great at the beginning, got some struggles. Now, I think Chris got brought up at the beginning of the season because he did have the hot hand coming out of spring training, and you don't extinguish that hot hand by sending him down that early. But it did kind of run its course. He did cool down. I think more importantly, batters got a playbook on him. Yeah. And now he's able to adjust down there. Detmers, again, strikes out a ton of people. But if you want to actually look at certain numbers in that AA team, the Trash Pandas, he's okay compared to some, there's 2 other guys in that rotation for the Trash Pandas that are just as good as Detmers or better in a lot of stats. And it's just Detmers has a sexy name, and I understand it. Yeah, but I mean, I seriously doubt that he is the answer to a lot of.
I do agree with Gara, though.
Yeah, but again, Gara, Myers, the hardest thing to scout, and I've talked to people about it, the hardest thing to scout is relief pitchers, because look at Myers last year. He was lights out.
The only person that we kept.
Yeah.
The only person that we re-signed was because Myers crushed it.
Oh, definitely. And
he's also shown signs of brilliance. Like, I've seen Myers go out there and just completely shut it down, but then we've also seen the flip side. And
honestly, and the bad part about this season is that we've seen more of the flip side of Myers in the side from last year. But that's what I was saying. It's so hard to scout relievers because the high velocity, high stress, they're going 100 miles per hour, maybe not throwing the ball wise, but as far as effort wise, all the time. And you just never know.
There are only a handful of relievers you look back over the last 20 years that have ever had consistency. And you're talking about the Mariano Rivera's.
Yeah.
You're talking about a Craig Kimbrell. Yeah. These guys will come in and they'll come in hot for 1 year and have the best shutdown year you've ever seen. We got Blake Parker from the Yankees out of nowhere, had a
great year,
amazing season.
And then 2 years later, can't find a job.
I don't even know where he's at right
I
now.
don't even
He's in
think...
an RV, Blake RV Parker. Right?
Yeah, he
so
was.
It's just the nature of the beast when it comes to relief pitchers. They're a different kind of person.
Right. I mean, and then Johnny said on here, couldn't do any worse than this 3 to bring up. You could do worse. You could actually really jack up their confidence and jack up their kind of mental state. I'm like, I don't know if these guys are mentally weak or mentally strong. Like, I'm not trying to say any of that stuff, but you just don't know. Confidence can play a huge part in this, and then they overcompensate for something. Now their mechanics is jacked up. Now they're getting hurt. There is a slippery slope with that. It could be for nothing. It could be, whatever, but you really got to watch that. And 2, if this season is kind of be a wash,
you're talking about service time too.
Bingo. Why start the clock on guys like Detmers and Backman if you don't need to? And now you can put them out next year and have an extra year of control on them. It's like,
and it's very, very rare to bring somebody you sign up in the spring, mid-year, June, July, and have them for a September call-up.
Right.
Like, it has happened. Of course,
it's rare.
But it's rare, and you got to be in playoff contention to even entertain something like that. Like, I saw it on the Royals. There's a guy he's fresh off the College World Series,
right,
killing it, crushing it, right? Royals brought him up when they had that World Series run. But
because
they had a World Series run, and then you needed some depth.
Right.
So I can see that, but
depth,
you just can't.
Depth makes sense, but the answer to the questions Angels bullpen has, that's not it. Like you mentioned, he's a great piece, but he can't be the fix it. He can't be the thing that brings everything together. He has to be like an add-on to something that's already good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue with the Angels bullpen. It's like, yeah, you can add these pieces, and we'll talk about the trade deadline in a little bit. But yeah, so bullpen strikes again. Bullpen struggles again. Angels dropped 2 of 2. I'm not even going to say 2 of 3. 2 of 2. A quick 2-game series. Day off today. We are recording this Wednesday, and they're back at Minnesota on Thursday to Sunday. And we'll talk about the remaining schedule and the Minnesota starters. After this, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to do the Curators Chronicles.
Let's go! Batter up! We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game, too.
It's a beautifully hot day for a ball game if we had one here, right? Scorching degrees as always in the Inland Empire. But if you're out there towards Anaheim, you're getting that marine layer.
Anything on the beach?
Oh yeah, it's feeling pretty good out there. Always sucks when we have an off day, but it's kind of nice. It's boring. It's like, what do I do?
Well, I felt like that way last night.
That's what we're doing. That's why we're having a podcast.
I even tweeted it out yesterday on our Twitter, Halo_Haven. Like, is anyone else bored here? Like, it's the Tuesday night. And
anybody want to talk?
Right, exactly. Hit me up on the show. MLB The Show. Let's play Diamond Dynasty.
Slide into my DMs.
Oh, I don't want all that.
Oh,
actually.
wow. Okay.
That's getting a little too far.
Anyway,
back to
beautiful day for a ball game. And today we have a piece of memorabilia from one of my favorite Angels, somebody I've never met, never saw play. But he is incredibly part of this franchise from the beginning, and his name is Albie Pearson, known as the Littlest Angel.
Did not know that. How tall?
Nickname.
Was he little and like size or like height or like
size?
Okay, what was he, like $125 or something? Like, how big was he?
Height.
Okay, what was he, like 5'6"?
5'5".
Ah, damn.
So think about being a major leaguer, stature at 5'5". If you look at his Wikipedia page, there's a section called stature. And so if you were him, you probably would, it's not like a great thing. Like, oh, he's a small guy. But think of somebody that size being effective at the major league level.
Altuve.
Yeah, it's like an Altuve, right? So he was a former American League or he was a rookie of the year for the Washington Senators. The Angels picked him up in the expansion draft when it became a franchise. And the cool thing is he's from Riverside.
Oh, didn't
Riverside
know that.
connection. He was a godly man. and he had a solid MLB career. But today we present you with the game used. This is game used, people. Albie Pearson bat.
Not like that Ohtani jersey that got sold for like $100 billion that was just signed.
This is game used Albie Pearson bat. It's an Adirondack. It's been confirmed that it's a game used bat. I was able to pick it up on eBay a few years ago. I'm always support people that are from Riverside, being that's where we're at. That's where we're broadcasting out of. And then also somebody like that's the underdog. So he fits into that Eckstein mold. He fits into the Fletcher mold.
Yeah.
The Sean Figgins, a guy has some surprising pop, but he was also part of that Los Angeles Angels team in '61 that was still playing at Dodger Stadium. Wrigley Field, then Dodger Stadium at Chavez Ravine. And there's pictures with him walking out with Marilyn Monroe. So it was kind of like the glory days, the heyday of like the mid-modern century stuff. So a pretty cool guy, still alive. He was supposed to do an actually Halo day at the 66ers a few years ago, but his wife was in poor health. He actually runs a camp or retreat center for boys that need some direction, that have gotten into some trouble. So some pretty cool stuff. He has like an album out. So there's all sorts of crazy things associated with Albie Pearson, but definitely one of my favorite Angels, somebody I've never got to see or watch, but still have.
No, and that's cool too. Like I didn't know the whole Riverside connection. You're right. You start looking at, someone sent me a photo today of Jesse Chavez with the Braves actually doing pretty well over there. Another was it
local guy? RCC, and then he also played at over in Fontana.
Yeah, I think it was AB Miller or Eisenhower.
Yeah,
one of the two,
it was when I was in high school. We actually played him.
But yeah, another local guy that at least spent time here. You got a couple of those that around the majors and stuff like that. So
a lot of Angels are Riverside guys.
Really?
We got like a Percival connection.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Troy Gloss was out of Norco at some point. He resided there. Greg Myers. So Daryl Miller.
Well, IE baseball, man.
Angels, man. IE baseball is the real deal.
There you go. So something else that kind of fits with the throwback. This is going to be a way throwback, but obviously the SoCal Vintage League got it going this week for the first time in like 18 months or something like that, 19 months.
Yeah. So if you've been following the podcast, you know that John and I were on the Riverside Smudge Pots, which we play 1886 baseball. We wear wool uniforms, actually kind of like what I'm wearing right now.
Too damn hot for that.
Super hot 1886 rules. So playing baseball the way it's supposed to be played.
So real quick, give us like the top 3 rule difference you think between what fans who watch baseball now see and rules that were enforced back then.
Yeah, it's actually pretty similar to the modern game. So like I would like to say there's a ton of differences, but it's if you get hit by a pitch, like
which Chris
knows, you get hit in the nose like I did the other day, right, and bleed out, you don't get your base. You just it counts as a ball, right? So 7 balls to a walk. Foul tips do not count.
A strike.
It's a strike. So if you're a pitcher, that's very frustrating. But you also have the ball side, right?
Yeah.
So you get that. You play with minimal gloves, so it's kind of like a gardening glove.
With
you're
padding, a little bit.
You're
gonna
pull some weeds, in your front yard. You're using that.
No webbing.
No webbing, and then you're also playing with you're hitting with the bat. That's 40 plus ounces. Like we have a bat that's 45 ounces,
and
35 inches.
So minimum. to have that as a reference point to what some of these major leaguers are playing with now.
Yeah,
would be what are major leaguers playing with?
I mean, they're probably like swinging a 33, 34. No, and like it's probably pretty even, like a 32 ounces, 33 ounces.
So you're talking about 10 ounce difference.
Yeah. So trying to get that speed, trying to get that, that whip.
It's not working very well.
Trying to get that exit velo off the bat.
There you go.
It's kind of tough, and you play with one ball the whole game, so it starts to get worn down. And, it starts getting a little squishier and stuff like that. Dead ball era.
So yeah, so Riverside Smudge Pots.
Riverside Smudge Pots.
Yeah, there you go. Check it out. After week 1, you guys are
1-0.
There you go. So we'll keep this little update as the season keeps on going. Chris obviously is the manager, so if there is any bad bullpen decisions, we can go straight to the source and have our little
we're solid
press conference here and say, why did you take a guy out with 2 outs and guys at the corners and let the next guy give up a double?
Yep.
We'll go straight to Chris. He'll be the answer.
Don't be Madden.
Don't be Madden. That's what it says on the shirt underneath his jersey. Don't be Madden. So that wraps it up for another edition of the Curators Chronicles.
Let's go! Batter up! We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game, too.
So like I mentioned, the Angels are up in Minnesota, going to start a 4-game series starting Thursday. Pitching matchups that have been announced, or the majority of the pitching matchups have been announced. We have Thursday night, 5 o'clock local time here in Riverside. Heaney versus Maeda. So one of their better pitchers.
Kenta Maeda?
Yeah. The ex-Dodger.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, ex-Dodger. Friday, again, another 5 o'clock start. Cobb versus Happ. So you kind of think Cobb has an advantage there. Saturday would be Sandoval versus Barrios.
Okay.
I think that's probably their best pitcher. That's going to be.
We see Irvin Santana in the series?
No, we do not, unless it's out of the bullpen.
Okay.
So I think that's when the last time they played the Twins, he did come out of the bullpen. So I think that's where he's at right now. That Saturday game is going to be a 4 o'clock start. Sunday game is going to be 11 o'clock. It is TBD for the Angels against Ober. I think is a new guy. I think he only had like 3 or 4 starts, so he's a new guy. But TBD means this would be Canning's spot if he was healthy and with the team. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what they do with this spot in the rotation. They didn't need a 6th starter for the longest time because of they had a day off. They had a day off before the All-Star break, and then they had the break, and then they have this day off. So now that 6th starter is coming back around, and now you're gonna have to need one on Sunday. And I don't know. You can. I would say a bullpen game. That's going to be bad if they do that. That would be bad. Yeah, that would be just it's over. Okay, should we watch this game or not?
Get that one over.
So we'll see if they do in-house. If they do have, they do have Bundy and Quintana in the bullpen who are capable of at least going out there and giving it the old college try. Don't know necessarily if they're going to want to, if they're going to want to call someone up to try to pitch that game. Berea is a guy that comes to mind first. Mm-hmm. Another young guy you want to see kind of maybe take the reins a little bit and get an opportunity. But other than that, I don't know who else would be in that spot for the sixth starter if it's not going to be Canning because of the injury. So that's something really to kind of pay attention to this weekend, Sunday. Who's going to be that starter? And is it in-house? Did they go bring in another guy? At that point, you're going to be a week away from the trade deadline. So do they bring someone for the trade deadline? Like, it's going to be.
It's kind of crazy to think that you're in this situation like at the beginning of the year and you're questioning whether I pitch Bundy on as a 6th starter against the Twins.
Right. Where
it's pretty sad.
Before the season, Bundy. Cy Bundy.
Opening day.
All over Twitter, Cy Bundy.
Just kind of crazy
how far he's fallen
from grace.
Yeah,
sure.
So that's something to look out for. A little while ago, earlier this week, on our Instagram, Halo_Haven, I did put out question format to see if some people wanted to ask questions. So, first question up, I got from DJ Heaven 80. Buyers/sellers says the common question. Yes, the common question. Buyers or sellers, Chris? What do you think the Angels should do? Again. We are recording this Wednesday, so we're about 10 days away, 9 days away. I can't do math from the trade deadline. So it is coming fast. It is coming quick. Right now, where do you see the Angels being buyers or
we
sellers?
know Perry Manassian, GM, does not like the terminology buyers or sellers, right? It's been very well established.
Well documented.
Okay. So I think we're sellers. And I hate to say that. It pains me to say that. I want to say we're in it to the end and all that stuff. But then who are we selling? Like, who has value?
The only ones
that people that we're not like, guys that we're holding on to.
Raisel Iglesias has value. Cobb has value. But outside of that, there's not a ton if you're going to go from like the starters, the guys that are playing Major League now. maybe Jose Iglesias, but again, he's been kind of up and down, so I'm not even sure about that. But I think obviously the top two names you're looking at are going to be Raisel Iglesias and Cobb, because they're honestly they're going to be free agents at the end of the year, and there's no guarantee they're going to come back.
Yeah.
And where I was forgot who I was talking to about this, and I said Raisel is probably going to be your biggest, because every team, it doesn't matter if their team has a closer, every team around playoff time is looking for a solid bullpen piece and make it even better. And Raisel can do that. He can go 2 innings and save you a game. We've seen that a number of times. But you would kind of want to hold on to him, but still at the same time, if he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, you can pull like a Chapman thing. Let him go to a contender, and maybe on the way out, you say, "Hey, we really want to bring you back in the offseason. Just give us some time, and see what happens." And maybe you get, again, like the Yankees, where they let him go. Get Andujar, I believe, was the trade piece in that, the main guy in that trade, and then he just comes back the next season. Don't know if that's going to happen. Don't know if the Angels want that to happen, but with guys like that, and same thing with Cobb, maybe you just say, "Hey, where do you want to go? Do you want to be part of a contender? We could try to get you there, and then help us out next year and just listen to us," kind of deal.
Yeah, I don't think most teams are really interested in position players at this point. When you get deep into the playoffs, you want
pitching.
You want some pitching,
pitching,
depth, and unless you have like a big injury,
right?
If you have like your main stud just got injured, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So I got to bring somebody in to fill that deficit. But beyond that, you want pitching, and I don't know, but we don't have a lot.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And we want to keep what we have, unless, like you said, they're a free agent at the end of the year.
So like obviously you're not going to trade Walsh, you're not going to trade Fletcher, you're not going to trade Rendon. He's injured. No one's going to take him. Upton, again, no one's going to take him. That contract is too heavy, and he's still unproven coming back from, granted, he did rehab start on Monday out in Salt Lake, hits a home run on his first pitch he sees leading off. But then after that, I think they're playing today, so I don't know what they did in today, Wednesday. Oh, no, they're off today. But after that, he's like 0 for his next 6, I believe.
Okay.
So, again, not great, but it's a rehab start. There's a lot of stuff being worked out during that rehab start that you just don't know. But, again, no one's going to trade for him, I think, not with that contract. You're going to have to throw on there a good minor league player, kind of like what they had to do with Will Wilson, the first round pick of Cozart to San Francisco. Cozart, whatever. He wasn't even here that long. You're gonna have to do something like that, and I don't know if the Angels can afford to give up that kind of a depth. So Upton stays. Trout obviously stays. Brandon and Joe are the biggest question marks, but I don't know if you trade those guys away when they're both, under control for the next 6 years. That's a lot of control to give away, and I think if you trade one of those guys for bullpen help, that's overdoing it.
Yeah, and so like you have the opportunity to get like a Scherzer right now. Do you trade a Adele Marsh? And they're gonna want more than just.
I think
they're gonna want more than your top dude.
I don't, just because, and we kind of mentioned it earlier. Starting pitching hasn't been terrible. Yeah, you can upgrade it. Yeah, you can obviously make it better. But until you fix that bullpen, unless every single one of those guys is going to go 9 or 8 innings, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, because we saw it, right? With Ohtani. Ohtani goes
Flores,
deep. Yeah. Like, that's a quality start, right?
Right.
And so then you get that, and then you just blow it. So,
and even with the bullpen, too, it's like you add pieces at the trade deadline. You don't do a full rebuild at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, I think if the bullpen was a fraction better, and like maybe you have like 2 or 3 guys you can really depend on, and the rest are just kind of like but you don't even have that. You have one legit guy you can count on, Raisel. Everyone else is like, all right, well, let's roll the dice and see what happens. But yeah, there's no way you can do a full rebuild of a trade deadline at the trade deadline, like of the bullpen, unless Perry pulls some magic out of his ass. I have no idea how that will work. But yeah, I definitely think Angels are going to be sellers, which is unfortunate because I know Angel fans are tired of it. But you definitely do feel a little more comfortable with the fact that you have pieces there. I think this is the first time in a while you feel like you have pieces, whether it be the development of Walsh, development of Fletcher. Obviously, with Brandon, it's still pretty early, but you like what you've seen for the small sample size. Trout's going to trout. Shortstop is going to be a question mark. Catcher is going to be a question mark. Third base, until Rendon shows that he can be healthy for a long period of time, is going to be a question mark. But you're seeing good things out of Suarez. You're seeing good things out of Sandoval. You're seeing good things out of Ohtani again on the mound. You're seeing good things out of some of those young guys. So at least there's something positive, where I think in years past you're still kind of scratching your head. What did they have to build on? So next question is going to be from T__ Goldberg. Does Joe Adell get the call up when this year with Marsh already up? That really surprised me that Brandon got the call up
over Joe.
I thought, and when we talked to Rhett about it, he says strictly defense. And if you've been following Brandon at all in his last 4 years, he's always been a plus defender compared to any of the outfielders in the system the Angels have. So that's not surprising that if they're going to target defense, he would be the first guy. Now, for Joe to become up this year, I think Upton needs to struggle. I think Upton needs to maybe not stay healthy to have that opportunity. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know what they would do when Upton, Trout come back, and then obviously Walsh. You have Eaton now, Lagares, Ward will can find a way somewhere in there.
So I guess my question for you is: did Brandon Marsh usurp Joe Adell? Joe Adell is your top guy in the in the minors.
It seems like it. It seems like obviously Joe's killing it offensively. Joe's killing it home run wise and power. But that's kind of what, if you follow these guys long enough back and not just within the last year, you saw that through the development through the farm systems. Like, people ask me who's going to have a better career. I think they'll both have good careers. I think they're going to be totally different careers. Like Joe Adell could be a guy that hits you 35, 40 home runs throughout his career. Brandon's going to win you maybe a couple Golden Gloves. You know what I mean? So it's like, it can be, they could both have great careers, but I just think they're going to be doing it different ways. But yeah, with, you think the offense, I mentioned earlier, offense is doing good without Trout and Rendon and Upton. Now you get those guys back, that offense is maybe going to take the next step. So that bat in right field, which I think that's where they're going to put Marsh once Trout and Upton come back as right field, is not as important. You're more worried now about coverage in the outfield and being able to, for anyone that hasn't seen Brandon throw the ball, he has a gun. He can throw out guys trying to, go from first to third or trying to get doubles and stuff like that. So he's going to help that way. So I think for what the Angels need right now, he has passed Joe. But for whatever reason, if the offense goes into the crappers and they can't produce any runs, they can't produce any power, then Joe's going to be more of a commodity because of that. So I think Joe does come up at some point this year. I just, man, they would have to like DFA, if Eaton doesn't work out, continues to struggle like he did in Chicago, maybe they DFA him, bring Joe up. Lagares, maybe you've seen enough from him. Maybe he's one of those guys. Maybe Lagares has shown enough to where at the trade deadline you can dump him for a team and get like a third, fourth tier prospect, a long shot. But at least you're just trying to free up space for Joe. And you had this long shot that, well, you know what? Maybe it works, maybe not. If not, we're going to DFA Lagares anyways, and there's no harm done. So there's plenty of moves they can make. But yeah, the with Joe being hopped over by Brandon kind of shakes it up a little bit. Oops, wrong one. From _ Greg, again, this is all Instagram. What is the outfield going to look like when Trout and Jay Up come back? And I kind of mentioned that a little bit.
Yeah, you talked about it. We gotta put
Brandon in right. I mean, he has a Calhoun thing going on with off defensively. There's not as much space to cover in right field because of the wall and the dimensions, but at the same time, if you put Upton in right field, he doesn't have an arm to throw out guys going from first to third. You can do that on him all day. Where if you put Brandon out there, it's going to make these guys think twice about going first to third or second to home because he has the arm to get the ball there. So obviously Brandon goes to right, Trout stays in center, and then J-Up goes to left. That seems like a pretty easy fit for everybody. And Max _ Johnson _ 25. Marsh in left, Trout in center, and hopefully Adell is good enough in right. How that look? I think that's something you'll see next year.
Yeah, that's the Angels outfield of the future.
But
sure.
again,
I think that's always Yeah.
I would switch again. I would put Brandon in right, longer throw to third base, and he has a better arm than Joe. That's why you put kind of like your not worse. I wouldn't say worse defender in left, but maybe the guy that doesn't have the best arm because it's the less of a throw to third base.
And then I think you hit it right there. Like when we brought Joe up originally, you put him right.
Yeah.
And if you
because Upton doesn't have an arm,
and if you've taken a ball in right field, you're going to get the ball to kind of tails away. It goes towards right field,
right?
To hit the ball, so it's a harder position to play. And in left field, you're only going to get the tail off of a left-handed batter,
right?
So there are obviously less of them. So I think it's an easier position for Joe to play.
Yeah, a guy that struggles defensively,
struggled and stuff like that. So but that's definitely the outfield of the future. It's something that's been on the Angels' sites. Like, how could you not want that?
You can see it as early as next year. Like we saw what they did with Albert DFAing him this year. There's no reason in my head now that Perry kind of already set the precedent for it. And again, Artie loved Albert. And if Artie
you're willing to do that,
you can do that with Upton.
Why not?
Next year.
Forget it.
Again, his last year, not owed nearly as much as
and you're not talking a Hall of Famer.
Right. And you're not talking about as much money either.
Fan favorite, Hall of Famer, all
right.
Stuff like that, right?
So if it happens again next year, like Albert struggles, or Upton struggles, boom, there's it. And then now you have again Marsh in right, Trout in center, Joe in left, and now you are set. Health, obviously health being the biggest issue. You are set for now until
like 15 years,
right? Because even then, after a certain point, Trout slows down. Boom, move him to right, move Marsh to center, or however you want to arrange those three. But that's going to be the three.
And then you also think about this is the reason why they've hung on to these guys. Like,
definitely.
I am positive that Perry Manassian, Epler, they got calls for Marsh. They got calls for Adele. They got calls.
Oh, I don't doubt it at all.
I don't know what the deals were. I don't know what the call was about, but they held on to them at the end of the day because they see that this being the outfield of the future. So
and it could happen sooner. It could happen.
It could happen by next year.
Well, I mean, it could happen. I was saying it could be happen this year. I mean, again, like if for whatever Upton has a setback or something, or it comes out just struggling, why not
turf toe?
So it can happen sooner. Like if I had to put money on it, I don't think Joe necessarily gets called up until maybe September now because of Brandon. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's still up at some
Brandon's
point.
already here, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you have to lose?
Exactly. Here's the last one. Drew _2717. Do you see the Angels making the postseason? Because I don't. That's a quote. So, Chris, I'll ask you first. Do you see the Angels making the postseason?
At the All-Star break, I said yes.
At the All-Star break, there was a chance.
And we only came out. We've had 2 series since, but
not good at series though. And again, that's the thing is like you
cannot win your own division. You cannot beat the people in your own division. You're never going to win your division, or let alone grab that wild card. So I would hate to say it, but I would say no.
Yeah. I asked Rhett Bollinger this question on the last podcast. I said, give it percentage wise. He said 10 to 20%, and that's before getting swept by Oakland the last 2 days. So I'm going to ask you the same question. If you had to put a percentage on it, as far as the Angels making the playoffs, whether it be the division or wild card or whatever, what percentage would you give them?
10%.
10%. I think that's kind of the common.
Can you give me that little? So you're saying we have a chance?
I have to upload that one.
Do you have that?
Time.
You don't have it?
I have to upload it.
Come on, man. Where are you at?
I know. I should have known that there was going to be a chance. Guess what? There's going to be a slimmer chance. So in 2 weeks.
So you have it.
So I'll have it then. Okay, exactly. Cool. So just for people to know, as we stand right now, again, off day on Wednesday, Angels are 11 games back of the division. And for that second wild card spot, they are 7.5. And I guess big part of it too would be looking at the upcoming schedule. There are 68 games left, if I did my math right, for the season with the Angels. 44 of them are against teams above 500. So that includes 10 against Houston, 3 against LA, and 7 versus Oakland. So you're talking about 17 games total versus Houston and Oakland. And then I think there's 3 more, or no, actually I think there's 6 more against Seattle. So I guess on the bright side is that if they do get hot and they are able all of a sudden to flip the switch and beat AL West teams, there are enough games there to
make some ground,
make up a serious run. There is absolutely enough games to make a serious run, but you just have to say, I guess you're gonna have to convince me that this first half was like a facade, and the bullpen was never really that bad, and they're gonna all of a sudden flip it over and now beat all the AL West teams. Because that's honestly, with 10 games against Houston, you're gonna need to win at least like 8 of them. 7 games against Oakland, you're probably gonna need to win 6 of them.
Yeah,
So I again, 10% I think is reasonable, but yeah, again, 44 games out of the remaining 68 games are against teams above 500. So we'll see what happens. Again, they have Minnesota, who is a bad team. Then they have Colorado back at Angel Stadium on Monday, another bad team. I guess my biggest fear is that they do well against those 2 teams, and it's kind of like I said this before, it's like kind of like fool's gold, where it looks pretty, but it's still not, no substance behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm as an Angels fan, you get super excited.
Yeah, all right, we won.
Like, we're back
6 out of 10, and then look who they played.
We're
like, okay,
back
that doesn't
in
matter.
the saddle again, right?
Mhm.
Gene Autry reference, but
There
you're
you
like,
go.
and then you just get let down.
And let down.
It's like a roller coaster, man.
And not a good one.
It's a terrible roller coaster.
Terrible
You wanna
roller coaster.
puke at the end.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you gotta take the games from them, but
you're gonna have the opportunity. It's just, again,
and then if you look at teams recently, like the Nationals when they won a few years back, they had a dismal.
but that was like the first. That wasn't the first. That was like the first 3 months.
Yeah.
But at the All-Star break, you already saw them gaining
They
ground.
turned it on.
But you're not seeing that with the Angels yet.
No.
And that's the thing. Is like they had so far to go. The Nationals did, but they started it like right before the All-Star break because they literally needed all that time to catch up. With the Angels, you're just not seeing it. You're not seeing it. Again, if the bullpen was meh, okay, average, then yeah, I can see get 2 guys and maybe that solidifies it. Man, that bullpen needs more than 2 guys right now.
It's a AAA bullpen.
And honestly, and besides, again, like I said, besides Rizal,
Maybe
that's legit. No, I think that's a legit thing where some of these guys, are AAA kind of status right now. And then you look at the AAA guys, it's hard to judge because that league the ball flies. It's like every game is played in Mile High. That's how bad the ball flies in that whole league. So, but yeah, so we're gonna see what happens next podcast Sunday night after the Minnesota series. Hopefully, we'll have some good news. Hopefully, who knows? Maybe some trades will be happening, whether it be Angels related or just baseball related, because it's gonna be like a domino effect. I feel like once the first big trade or big movement happens, then that's going to kind of set the board for everybody else. And maybe then we can start seeing more and more movement. So we'll see what happens. Sunday is going to be exactly a week from the trade deadline. So who knows? It could be a totally different team in a couple weeks, but it's too soon to tell right now, but keep an eye out. We'll post stuff we deem, I guess, necessary or some of that big news. So make sure you follow us at Halo_Haven on Twitter and on Instagram. Obviously, if you're watching the live stream right now, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, YouTube. Check out YouTube, some of the pages or some of the videos on there. My trip to Seattle. Obviously, any past podcast where we filmed it also is going to be up on there. Looking to do an interview, hopefully soon with Brandon Marsh's mom to kind of get her perspective on.
Dude, we're doing interviews with moms.
I don't know why, dude.
Who's doing that?
I don't know why, but moms DM us a lot, and like,
we love moms.
Moms are great because they're like
they like to tell the story of them, like progressing and their
right
them as a child. And
well, it's funny though too, because we'll post something. They're like, "Oh, thank you for posting something."
Dude,
about
that's super cool.
Yeah,
so I'm very proud of
all
that
that
relationships.
Stuff, so.
With moms and exclusive interviews with prospects. Daniel's always one to reach out to a number one prospect.
Try to
like Sam Bachman. Like I'm pretty sure we'll get him on the podcast.
We need to get him more active on social media first. He's not
active.
He's there. He's just not as active.
Dude, what kind of millennial is this?
He's an old soul.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure Daniel will reach out to him, get him on the podcast, just like Reed Detmers. We have a long line of number one prospects that have been on the podcast, which is pretty impressive.
Looking forward to more of these guys coming on as you know, some of these draft picks sign, and Bachman again signed today. I think the Angels signed like 5 guys out of the 20. So honestly going the right way with that. But again, that's going to wrap it up for this podcast. Again, you can follow us anywhere on social media, Halo_Haven, Twitter, Instagram, Halo Haven's fan page.
Anywhere you get
Facebook,
podcast.
And then download this podcast anywhere you get podcasts, all that good stuff, all that jazz. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the All Angels podcast. I am Dan Garcia.
I'm the curator.
And you've listened to another edition of the All Angels podcast.